Frog Bit Blog.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Frog Bit Blog podcast. On this week we've got Len again. People loving Len. Ooh, sexy Len. Yeah, Len's great. Len's better than you, innit? Anyway, we've got Len. We're talking about Chinese solar power. We talk about wasps. I big up the wasps. That's not it. We talk about all sorts of things. You're going to have to sit and listen, aren't you? I'm not telling you anymore, all right?
The Frog Bit Blog.
Right, corrections and apologies. Well, if you remember last week, I had Leonardo DiCaprio's lawyers on the phone. And as you can imagine with a name like that, they're actually gangsters, Sicilian mobsters. And I got a bit worried, so I thought I better record the phone call. And here it is.
Hey, you, Mr. Frogbit, you messing with one of our boys. You better shut up your face or you will be swimming with the fishes.
Oh, that's nice. Have you been listening to my other episodes? And like my bit on fish intelligence, I do a lot of stuff about fish, funnily enough.
Shut up your face or we'll be giving you some concrete boots. We will pull out your fingernails, nail your arms to a bench and make you listen to Ed Sheeran remix of Shut Up Your Face for 10 hours non-stop.
No help. That's torture. That's inhumane. Not the concrete boots. I quite like the sound of them, actually. Or the other stuff. It's the Ed Sheeran stuff that really scares me. Please, no. I'll do whatever you say.
Okay. I'm going now. Okay.
And again, controversy when I made the joke about the dead hunter. Remember last episode, the one in South Africa? The one who was an ethical hunter, because apparently there's such thing as ethically killing animals. And what else? Yeah, well, he was a Christian, wasn't he? And they've all complained that I slightly took the piss. And I thought, well, if you're Christians, then forgive me. And secondly, if he's a Christian, he's not actually going to be that arsed because he's just going to get that bit quicker to meet God. Isn't that how it works?
The Frog Bit Blog.
So, there's a new report out. You've probably all heard of it. Avoiding meat and dairy is the single biggest way to reduce your impact on the earth. Avoiding meat and dairy products is the single biggest way to reduce your environmental impact on the planet, according to the scientists behind the most comprehensive analysis to date of the damage farming does to the planet. The new research shows that without meat and dairy consumption, global farmland use could be reduced by more than 75%, an area equivalent to the United States, China, European Union and Australia combined, and still feed the world.
Wow.
Now, I'm not going to preach here. That'll make a fucking change, I hear you say. And I'm going to cover this stuff a bit more later. But we do need to be able to have a grown-up debate about these things. I read this article was in the Guardian, and it had comments are open, and people were saying things like, but it's not as bad as having kids, and I don't have kids, so I'm going to eat meat. I'm going to eat meat instead. And others saying, stop preaching and judging. What about the population? Like I said, I'm going to cover this later, possibly in the show if I get time. If not, then the next episode. But I'm just going to read that out one more time. The new research shows that without meat and dairy, global farmland use could be reduced by more than 75%. An area equivalent to the United States, China, the European Union and Australia, and still feed the world. Still feed the world. Whichever way you look at it, that's fucking massive, isn't it? That's fucking massive. Come on. It's incredible, isn't it? Look, I know we're not all going to become vegetarian or vegan, so the sooner that ethically produced and cruelty-free lab-grown meat and dairy produce takes off, the better. Because, we can persuade a certain percentage of the population to stop eating meat, but a lot of people out there are stubborn and aren't going to change their behaviour that easily. But if we can give them not only a sort of a vegan or vegetarian alternative, we actually give them a meat, an ethically produced, cruelty-free meat to get their meat fix from, then good on them. Maybe there is hope, but we need to do something, don't we?
The Frog Bit Blog.
In China, they have invented a solar panel that also collects energy from the rain. I hope the rain doesn't mind it. It's quite a big job and I'm not sure if she's up to it, all that. No, but seriously, in a remarkable advance, researchers at China's Suzhou University have demonstrated a solar cell that can generate electricity from falling rain. A recent article in the American Chemical Society's Nanotechnology Journal entitled Integrating a Silicon Solar Cell with Triboelectric Nanogenerator via a Mutual Electrode for Harvesting Energy from Sunlight and Raindrops. Sounds like a prog rock song, that, doesn't it? And talking of prog rock songs, last week I read an article online, and this was the title, Wind-Shaped Dunes of Solid Methane Spotted on Pluto. Now, there's a line for a prog rock song if I've ever heard one.
Wind-shaped dunes of solid methane spotted on Pluto. Wind-shaped dunes of solid methane spotted on Pluto. Silver spaceship flying skyward, dancing to and fro. I have taken too much acid and have just said no.
Anyway, back to the solar panel story. Device makes use of a triboelectric nanogenerator which converts mechanical energy into electricity. In this case, solar cells harvest power from the movement of raindrops that fall on them. Since solar panels typically generate only a tenth of their potential output during rain and nothing at night time, the advance could address one of the biggest problems facing solar power. Our device can always generate electricity in any daytime weather, says Boaquan Sun. Hang on, Sun? The person at the research place working on solar panels has the surname Sun, S-U-N Sun, not even S-O-N. That is nominative determinism, isn't it? Remember that. I did it about that in one of my first few podcasts. It's the idea that you're statistically more likely to do a job if you have that kind of surname. So if your name's Baker, you're more likely to be a baker. If your name's Trump, you're more likely to be a windbag of smelly hot air. Classic example of nominative determinism there, Trump. Anyway, back to the story. It's actually taken me quite a long time to do this story, isn't it? In addition, this device even provides electricity at night if there is rain. Isn't that dead clever? And there we go, the Chinese, again, leaving the Brits and the Americans way behind in the technology investment in renewable energy. And they will reap the benefits because Leonardo DiCaprio, when I was talking about last week, he said renewables could be the greatest jobs boost to happen to the US. But what does Trump do? He tries to bring back coal, doesn't he? And guess what? The federal agency responsible for energy statistics note that coal for electricity is at a 36-year low. It stated in 2017 coal consumption by the electric power supply sector reached its lowest level since 1982. Well done, Donald Trumpy Pumpy. You've really done that one well, haven't you? So, you've all been saying great things about Len. It's Len again, sexy Len. Apparently, even some of you Americans can understand what he's saying. Like, they didn't think his accent's that bad as I'm making it. Like, no, people have enjoyed having me on the show, so I've got him on the show again. So, I'll do the theme tune. I'm not going to do it every week because I'm so bored of it, but I quite enjoy putting on. So, anyway, here's my interview with sexy Len.
Oh, yeah. It's Len again. It's sexy Len again. Ooh, yeah. It's Len again. Ooh, yeah, it's Len again. Len. Ooh, Len. Ooh, sexy Len. Ooh, Len. Yeah, Len. Great Len.
So, he's back again. It's Len. It was in last episode talking about, he was telling me off for reading books. Yeah, okay, burning books. You know where that leads. No, but seriously, what were we talking about, Len?
So, yeah, we were talking about basically how technology could potentially save us, mainly centred around things like mass consumerism and often to do with our homes and work and things like that.
So, replacing those mass consumerist needs with virtual needs.
Yeah, so obviously the impact of buying things in a digital environment or living elements of your life in a digital environment can have a lot less impact than driving around in lots of fancy cars, catching lots of planes, buying endless amounts of stuff.
Right. So you think holidays, my experience might be replaced, because it's a big thing, isn't it, for a younger generation? It's more about experience, like you were saying about minimalism. It's more about experience. Can you see it being a virtual people being satisfied with virtual experience?
I would say personally, I don't think I could be actually. On the flip side of that one, I think often maybe a lot of this could be offset, because a lot of I would say I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I would go with the assumption that lots and lots of aeroplane trips and car trips are done because of business. That's commuting, and that's going for business trips and things abroad. If we removed a lot of that, then that would open up the CO2 impact that would potentially have, or hopefully solar and etc. in the future, for actually travelling and maybe sort of seeing the world a little bit more. Because often these meetings that we could be having could be in any space that we want to have them if it's in virtual reality.
Yes.
It could also be an environment which you and me, for example, feel more comfortable with. So we could either physically be in a park having a conversation about business or something like that, or it can almost be virtually projected. So you could feel comfortable in nature, and I would feel comfortable in an office. So we could have the best of both worlds. You could either virtually produce that, or it could be we physically inhabit those spaces and still have the conversation between either VR or maybe like a digital wall.
Is there a big change coming, do you think? Can you because you deal a lot in virtual reality and stuff, is it on the cusp? Is it like in the next 10 20 years, are we going to look back and go, God, weren't we backwards 10, 20 years ago? Can you see it happening?
I really do, actually, because I mean, if we think about mobile phones, for example, if you walk down the street now, and if that had been in the 1980s, you would have been thinking, what are these people doing staring at these cubes as they walk down the street? It would look very, very strange and peculiar. Now that's very, very natural. When it comes to virtual reality, I think it's very cumbersome, it's very expensive, but it's getting smaller and more adaptable all the time as technology develops. The second it's built into our glasses in an augmented or virtual sense, I think that's when it's really going to start coming to fruition.
There is a danger, though, isn't there, that this virtual reality and the augmentation and built into the glasses, people are just going to use it to bombard you with advertising. Is there a chance that it might just all be corporatized as opposed to democratized? It's
quite a distinct possibility, of course it is, yeah.
Right.
But if you're looking towards current trends, whether it be the GNPR or with it's like revolt against social media, then it's looking towards a trend that I don't think people would stand for it.
Yes.
In any sense, or at least it might be there initially, and then people start a fight against it. It's got to be customizable, and it's got to be suitable for the usage. I mean, if advertising's popping up in front of your faces when you're trying to walk over the street, then it could be quite damaging. We've also got to remember that if it's augmented reality, then it can project screens anywhere you want, so that would negate the need for ever having to have laptop screens, televisions, phones, or anything else ever again.
Ooh.
Which is obviously that's a massive impact in regard to the awful chemicals and the actual.
Well, is that going to happen then? Can you actually see that's going to happen? The screens are going to go.
Definitely see that happening, because it is physically possible right now. So
we won't have phones. What will we have?
I would think that we've got so used to using that cube in our hands, or that rectangle in our hands, we might still carry around like a dumb piece of plastic.
Yeah.
That our glasses would then have an overlay that would create that interface on our hands, as it would with another screen. But you've also got the idea of things like cinemas would be completely negated, because you could project a city-size screen right in front of your eyes.
But there wouldn't be that human interaction, though, would there? Would there still be that interaction?
Well, me and you could go and meet up on the beach and watch a film together, and we could do that if for argument's sake.
Would there be a virtual interaction between people? Is that how it works? Could there be any connection between the people in a virtual world?
Certainly. I mean, if you're looking at science fiction, they've been talking about this for a long time. Even Star Trek Discovery recently, you could have things like holographic interpretations of yourself projected out there. But for me, it's more of a way of bringing people together. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive due to the technology, but it means that we could literally watch a film, play a game, have a social interaction anywhere with anybody, but in a physical sense as well, because that means that less space will be taken up by office buildings, and that could be a park.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as homes get smaller, and office environments disappear, then the potential for inhabiting those spaces with more natural spaces is nothing but a positive thing, but is often a very real thing as well.
Look, your time's up again. That was very interesting. So thanks for coming in. And you've got more. You're going to be in again soon, aren't you?
I hope so.
Yeah, all right, brilliant. Well, thank you for that, young man.
You're very welcome.
Right, David Goodall, Australia's oldest scientist, ends his own life aged 104. Goodall ate fish and chips and cheesecake, hopefully not at the same time, but I suppose it didn't matter really, he was about to die, it's up to him, and listened to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in the final hours. I'm not sure when he listened to the first 8, but there you go. Australia's oldest scientist, David Goodall, has ended his own life at a clinic in Switzerland surrounded by family while listening to Beethoven. The British-born 104-year-old professor was forced to travel on a one-way ticket from his home in Australia to Switzerland. I'm glad they put the one-way ticket bit in there. I'd hate to have thought that he'd have bought a return ticket and wasted all that money. Anyway, he bought a one-way ticket from Australia to Switzerland, where liberal assisted dying laws allow him to end his life legally, in contrast to Australia, where it remains forbidden. To end his own life, Goodall had to turn a wheel that allowed a lethal infusion to flow into his bloodstream through a cannula in his arm. Nietzsche, said the professor, Nietzsche? Where's Nietzsche come into this? Is Nietzsche the doctor? Is the doctor of philosophy that sits there while you die? Anyway, Nietzsche said, after answering questions which he said he knew who he was, where he was, and what he was about to do, and he answered these questions with great clarity. In fact, his last words were, "This is taking an awfully long time, Cobber." Well, I actually added the Cobber bit. And he went on and said this, obviously he said this before he died. "What I would like is for other countries to follow Switzerland's lead and make these facilities available to all clients if they meet the requirements. And the requirements, not just of age, but of mental capacity." And there's always objectors, of course. The Australian Medical Association, Michael Gannon fella, said he was concerned that the suicide of someone whose age 100 was being celebrated. What is the age at which we no longer celebrate people continuing life? People like Dr. Goodall make a decision based on nothing more than they decided there is nothing more to live for. I have serious concerns about a community where we make arbitrary decisions about whose life is valuable. What do you mean, we? It's him. He's a 104-year-old bloke. It's his decision. What's this we? Yeah, nothing to do with you. And following on from this sort of euthanasia argument, I've read it about, we can't have assisted dying because young people might kill themselves when they're feeling depressed. Yeah, right, because when you're feeling depressed and you're a young person and you want to kill yourself, you know what you're thinking? Oh, I better not throw myself off this bridge, otherwise I'll be breaking the law and might be arrested. And there's this idea that stroppy teenagers may go and seek assisted dying on a whim. Sebastian, can you turn that bloody racket down, please, now?
I hate you. You're not my parents. Oh God, I wish I'd never been born. I'm going to go to the euthanasia clinic now to kill myself. Then you'll be sorry.
Oh well, dear. At least it will save us money on the weekly shop. All that acne cream and pot noodles. You know, it's not going to be like going to the supermarket. There's going to be balances and checks. I'm just saying.
The Frog Bit Blog.
Right, it's about that time of year when I'm going to say a thing or two about wasps, yeah? Because wasps get a hard time, don't they? Because everyone's always going on about the bees. Oh, yeah, we love the bees. We've got to save the bees. Bees are brilliant, aren't they? Build yourself a little bee house. Make sure you feel the bees. Everyone's on a bee. I'm sick of the fucking bees. What about the wasps? What happens? As soon as anyone sees a wasp, they turn into a 4-year-old child, don't they? Oh, no, it's the birds, quick, run away. Is it because we were all scared of them at that age? Wasps are great. Wasps are just bees with attitude. Just let me say at this point, I'm not on about the American wasp, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. I'm on Protestant. I'm on about the yellow stripy fuckers. I want to give you some wasp facts in praise of wasps, in defence of wasps. If you garden, wasps are amongst your best friends. The common wasp is a top predator, capturing more than 4 million prey loads, weighing 7.2 pounds per acre every season. Their favourite prey is aphids, rose killers and tormentors of every gardener's favourite plants. Although they neither make honey nor pollinate flowers, their colonies are broadly similar to bees, centred around a queen with workers that tend the larvae. The larvae in turn excrete a sweet substance on which the workers feed. Trouble comes only once the queen stops producing the eggs. Deprived of homegrown food, hungry workers look elsewhere for something to eat. That's when that half-eaten plum becomes a magnet. Huh? That's a clever trick, isn't it? What wasps can defy the law of physics and turn plums into magnets? Clever fuckers. Anyway, back to the story. Each nest is a small miracle. How do they make it so perfect? How do they keep the walls so straight? How do they make one cell fit into another with such precision? A wasp nest is a thing of breathless wonder. And long ago, some clever man, or it could have been a woman, you sexist twat, staring at one in China, had a eureka moment. He, stroke she, or non-gender specific, thought, this is not a nest. It's a letter, a memorandum, an IOU, wisdom, poetry, information, beautiful thoughts, and the meaning of life. This is paper. I'm sure they didn't think all that shit, but anyway, we can pretend. So yeah, that's how it invented paper, because of watching what wasps are doing. And this, someone, I've done some more research, okay? I will paraphrase an organic farmer friend of mine. I'm not talking me here, I'm quoting someone else. I haven't got an organic farmer friend, have I? Oh, I might have. Anyway, we love our wasps, and they do a great job for us. If it weren't for them, I'm afraid we'd have to use pesticides. So there you go. And finally, if you're really scared of them, I've got a useful tip here. Run the fuck away! No, seriously though. Top tip of the day from an entomologist. I'm not sure what one of them is. Do they study entomoles? Maybe that's Australian for a wasp. Oh, Sheila, look at the size of those entomoles flying around a barbie. Anyway, sorry, back to the story. If you find that you've pissed one off, stay still and hold your breath. They follow the carbon dioxide gradient from low to high concentration to hone in on you. If you do this, they'll decide you're not worth attacking. It's quite funny that people usually flap their arms and get excited. Which has the opposite effect. So did you get that? It's the carbon dioxide. So if you stand still and don't breathe for, say, 20 minutes or so, it'll leave you alone. You might be dead by that point, but at least you won't have a wasp on your ass. So as I said, wasps aren't in fact just bees with attitude. They've got a badass attitude. And this band of wasps wanted to come in and do a hip-hop song.
So let's hit for the wasp, motherfuckers! Okay, BWA, we have come to spoil your day. BWA, I hear you say, that's bees with attitude. That's bees with attitude. You don't show us no gratitude. Don't wanna hear your platitude when we buzz around your food with bees with attitude. With bees with attitude. When you is having a picnic, we just come and act so sick. So just stop you being a prick and show us some respect. With bees with attitude. Show us some motherfucking gratitude. With bees with attitude. Show us some motherfucking gratitude. With bees.
I've looked in mirror, we're wasps.
With attitude.
No, we're fucking wasps. We're different than bees. We're a different genus and everything.
Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, that'll do for wasps. They're brilliant, aren't they? And they're actually quite good hip-hop songwriters, I think. Well done, wasps. In praise of wasps. Now, once more, it's the latest episode of
Frog Bit on Drugs.
Lidl offering cannabis to shoppers. You may have heard about their cut price stollen and possibly their surprisingly flavoursome jam, but you probably won't have sampled the latest range offered by the supermarket chain, Lidl. Locally grown cannabis. 2 products derived from hemp flowers are being offered in Swiss stores as an alternative to rolling tobacco. The packs are on sale alongside cigarettes and cigars at the till. The cost per cigarette is double that of tobacco roll-ups. Yodel, eh? Hee hee. Wow. things are changing, aren't they? Now, you Americans have got a very enlightened approach, and I found a new article on marijuana in America, and believe it or not, it was written by a woman called Julia Weed. Yeah, that's right. An article on cannabis written by a Julia Weed, and I'm just wondering if that's a pen name. Anyway, Julia Weed. Here we go. 125,000 to 160,000 people work full-time in the legal marijuana industry, according to Chris Walsh, industry analyst. There are more marijuana sector employees than librarians or kindergarten teachers in the United States, Walsh said. Well, there's an idea. All right. More marijuana employees than librarians or kindergartens. Why not do a job share? So imagine if all the librarians want libraries to be a bit quieter. They could just dispense some really strong weed, something that gives you couch lock, man, and let them all mellow out. And even better, kindergarten teachers, marijuana, how to calm an unruly class. Now, I'm definitely not saying, because I'm a teacher myself, and I'm definitely not advocating to give marijuana to young kids, but just imagine, for example, if it's legal and the kindergarten teacher just has a few tokes on the bong, as they say, and the kids just happen to get some second-hand smoke in their lungs. Well, it's a win-win, isn't it? You've got happy teachers, calm kids. No, but on a strange, as funny as it sounds and outrageous about giving kids who happen to be, noisy kids, marijuana, well, they fill them full of fucking Ritalin, don't they? Ritalin, which is sold also on the illegal drug market, isn't it? Got a noisy kid, quick, send him to the doctor. Here you go, son, have a pack of these Ritalin. Yep, and someone makes a lot of money from it. So if you're going to give kids Ritalin, no, I'm not going to say give kids marijuana. That's daft. But you know what point I'm trying to make. Now, there's new evidence to show that cannabis can keep Alzheimer's at bay. I said there's new evidence to show... No, joke, okay? A puff a day can keep Alzheimer's away, said cannabis researcher. Cannabis may be an effective treatment for Alzheimer's, says Dr. Gary Wenk of Ohio State University. That's because Alzheimer's is linked to brain inflammation, and cannabis has known anti-inflammatory properties. He says that while brain inflammation happens naturally as people age... what happens then? It can be induced by injury or trauma. So athletes or anyone who has suffered a blow to the head might want to look into medical marijuana now to offset the lingering effects of their injuries later. Are you going to take that up when they get banned for smoking it then? Even at very low dosages, as little as a puff a day, brain inflammation was notably reduced, Dr. Wenk found. Wenk tells his students that if their patients were in a car accident and had a severe head injury, the first thing they should tell their patients to do is to start smoking marijuana heavily for the next few days because it would protect the brain. Isn't that amazing? Now, I'm one that I usually slag off drug companies, but for a change, I'm going to praise one of them. After that little racist outburst from Roseanne Barr, the Trump supporter, surprise, surprise. Yep. After the comedian partly blamed her controversial tweets on taking the sedative, because she took sleeping pills, didn't she? The drug maker Sanofi released a statement. People of all races, religions and nationalities work at Sanofi every day to improve the lives of people around the world. While all pharmaceutical treatments have side effects, racism is not a known side effect of any Sanofi medication. Hear, hear, well done. What a great response. Right, research has shown that rates of opioid prescriptions went down in states that implemented laws allowing access to medical marijuana, according to 2 studies published recently. The findings suggest that access to medical marijuana may have cut patients' need for opioids to manage their pain, the researchers said. There have been substantive evidence that marijuana can relieve pain at lower risk of addiction than opioids and with virtually no risk of overdose. The potential for marijuana policies to reduce the use of addictive opioids deserves consideration, especially in states that have been hard hit by the opioid epidemic. Talking of opioids, guess who was responsible for defending the Oxycontin company from a lawsuit when it turned out that their synthetic morphine was oh so addictive after all? Yes, it's the devil's little helper himself, Rudy Giuliani, however you pronounce it. Someone from America get in touch, you say Giuliani, I don't fucking care. The US government missed the opportunity to curb sales of the drug that kick-started the opioid epidemic when it secured the only criminal conviction against the maker of Oxycontin a decade ago. Purdue Pharma hired Rudolph Giuliani, the mayor of New York and now Donald Trump's lawyer, to head off a federal investigation in the mid-2000s into the company's marketing of the powerful prescription painkiller at the center of an epidemic, estimated to have claimed at least 300,000 lives. While Giuliani was not able to prevent the criminal conviction over Purdue's fraudulent claims for the safety and effectiveness of Oxycontin, he was able to reach a deal to avoid a bar on Purdue doing business with the federal government, which would have killed a large part of the multi-billion-dollar market for the drug. There you go. So he's partly responsible for the deaths of lots of people. In 2016, 42,000 US drug fatalities. Yeah, 66% involved opioids. A lot of those that took Oxycontin, that's over 100 people a day were dying from it, yeah. But it appears somehow, isn't it, that some drug dealers are okay. And especially a drug dealer that has a fine, upstanding citizen like Rudy Giuliani looking after you. Yeah? Hypocrites? What do you think? Now, more about dickhead Republicans in America, but actually there's some Democrats included in this. The earth is not warming. The White Cliffs of Dover are tumbling into the sea and causing sea levels to rise. Global warming is helping grow the Antarctic ice sheet, apparently. Those are some of the skeptical assertions echoed by Republicans on the US House of Representatives Science, Space and Technology Committee yesterday. The lawmakers at times embraced research that questions mainstream climate science during a hearing on how technology can be used to address global warming. Many of the questions by Republicans and Democrats alike were directed to Philip Duffy, president of the Woods Hole Research Center in Massachusetts and former senior advisor to the US Global Change Research Program. Rep. Mo Brooks, Republican, questioned Duffy on the factors that contribute to sea level rise, pointing out that land subsidence plays a role as well as human activity. Brooks then said that erosion plays a significant role in sea level rise, which is not an idea embraced by mainstream climate researchers. No, it's just an idea embraced by fucking weird right-wing nutters, isn't it, really? He said that the California coastline and the White Cliffs of Dover tumble into the sea every year, and that contributes to sea level rises. These are people that your government is paying, and you are paying lots of tax money to represent you, and they come out with shit like this. And although in some ways it's ridiculously funny, in other ways it's ridiculously disturbing, isn't it? That senators and lawmakers are repeating these lies fed to them by those industries that have something to be gained by global warming denial, such as the fossil fuel industries. How much are these people taking in backhanders? You know, they're sacrificing the futures of their grandchildren to enrich themselves in their remaining years. Now, I don't want to sound vindictive, but I will anyway. These fuckers should be up in a world court for their crimes against humanity, because their behaviour now is going to lead to the deaths of millions and millions of people in the future. And the future well-being of this planet is at stake with these fuckers in charge now. They should be in court, like Nuremberg, like the Nazis, where these people one day should face trial for their crimes, because these are more, for the most serious crimes you could ever possibly imagine, the deaths of millions and millions and millions of people into the future. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Right, that's all I've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for listening, and I will see you again soon. Bye!
From BitBlog. From BitBlog.